It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
Yo, God bless you, brother. God bless you, and enjoy yourself and take your time, please, and just take care of yourself for real.
I appreciate that. That's what I'm trying to do. That's kind of why I started this podcast. And that's why I guess we'll start now. Thank you, UFO Fev, for being on, man. I've been a real big fan for a long time, so I appreciate you talking.
All day, man. Thank you for having me. All love.
Of course. You had a great 2020, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, is because, like, you made shit happen. Like, not many artists did, and you had one of the best 2020s. Musically,
Okay.
I don't know how your personal life was. It seemed great from the beginning, but
Yeah. Nah, I mean, my personal life for 2020, I'm super thankful because, I didn't take too many losses, and, I lost a couple of people through the quarantine. Obviously, everybody did know somebody that was affected by what was going on, or, family members suffered or stuff like that. We definitely went through that, but for the most part, we bounced back. We didn't go through too much struggle, and it was more so I think quarantine and this whole stuff just kind of brought an opportunity to get to. You see, I learned one thing. I don't mean to jump off track too much, but I learned that as artists or just everyday working people, we don't tend to spend a lot of time with our family as we may think we do. The average day is 24 hours in a day. You sleep in about 6 to 8 of them. You're working for another 8. That's already 16 hours right there. And with some time, with an hour or two between transportation to get home from where you're coming from or whatever you're doing, it really leaves you with like 3 hours in the house. You know what I'm saying? So you really only actually spend about 3 hours with the people you love throughout an entire day. And as I was traveling with Fat Joe and starting to separate from my family, I was doing that for 5 months. So when the pandemic sat us down and quarantine came, I kind of learned that I really didn't, I wasn't prepared to sit home and be around my family as much as I had to be, because I was so used to getting up and bouncing around. So when I had to homeschool and be a full-time dad, it was kind of like, thankfully there was nothing else going on, because it was so overwhelming that I don't know how, most people got through it. So yeah, it kind of taught me like to be thankful, man, and be patient more so, because it was very hard in the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
well, yes, I do. And it shows that, it is like a shell shock when you're out and you're doing shit, and then you just have to like sit home and realize, you didn't realize what was actually going on around you,
Right.
But even with that, you still were able to put out more work than, you ever had. Like, you put out 3 albums.
Yes, sir. That was by fate, man. The good Lord allowed me the opportunity to actually put the music out, because I'm such a I like to study. I'm a critical thinker. So a lot of my music that I sit on, I don't sit on it for any other reason as opposed to just trying to make sure it's stuff that fits the time, because music, to me, when I create music, it's a divine thing. It's a divine creation, and it has to hit. When you create music with a message or a substance, it has to have its place in the world. So it can't just come out on a Wednesday because we want to drop it on a Wednesday. For some reason, everything always has to feel right. You know what I'm saying? So like Fresh Air, when I did Fresh Air with Static, we had that in the tuck. We dropped it in February of 2020, and then pandemic happened. So it just fit the time of it being like, we need fresh air. This shit is bad air outside. We didn't plan that. The title came because I just felt like what me and because I had played the project for a few people and they were like, damn, man, Static was like the first time I actually sat with the producer of that caliber. So a few people were telling me that it sounded like fresh air, like to hear me produced sounded like, yo, you sounding good. It sounds like fresh air. So that kind of was like the ongoing theme of me playing this. So I was like, yo, Static, we should call it fresh air, man. And he was like, yeah, I love it. And then when it drops, we have this this pandemic, and you can't really be outside breathing regular air. Everybody got masks on. We don't know what's going on. We think it's airborne. Everybody's outside with gloves and spraying everything down. So people like, yo, fresh air. But it really just, like I said, God, 20, hindsight is always 2020 and things line up. So that's how the projects came about. They were already being worked on, and I just seen my opportunity, my time to strike. Like, yo, I know there's not going to be too many people doing too much things, and I got all this dope stuff. So I dropped the fentanyl flow with Fat Joe, nightclubs with Spice, the projects, the Styles piece. It was just like all this stuff that we were already like had in the trick bag that I was able to present to the world at the right time.
Well, you say even in your raps, you even say like you're spiritual, you're not religious, but I'm the same way, and I call those omens. Like
Yes,
like, you know what I mean? Like the universe gives you omens, and if you don't follow that, then you're never gonna get anywhere.
You get cursed. That's we could revert back to the great book, one of my favorites, The Alchemist by Paulo Cohen. Man,
that book changed my life. It really did.
Changed my life as well, brother. That's one of the excerpts. If you avoid your blessings, they become curses. And always keep your eye open for the omens. You know what I'm saying? There's always an omen everywhere. Even when Santiago worked in the glass shop and it was time for him to move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's always in the universe. And so that's what pretty much you hit it on the head. But I'm trying to keep my eye open for the omens.
That's crazy. Like you're the first guest that knows that book. And I feel like it's, I guess, a semi-popular book, but that book changed my life. And that's why it's like every day is important. Like I can't waste any days. There's no wasted days. And the second you start wasting days is when you miss those omens and they turn to curses.
That book definitely changed my life. So when I read that book, I don't know, man. I know that book inside out because it's such, I don't like, it's right up there with the Bible, man. Mm-hmm. It's parallel to all the great religious books that have been written, being that it's not a religious book, but it's a spiritual God. You know what I'm saying?
How did you get into, like, what was your first encounter with spirituality? Like, when did you realize that?
Around your age, man, around my early 20s, mid 20s, I was dealing with a lot of depression and being in the streets, just seeing a lot of stuff that causes trauma and not knowing how to deal with it. I really thought I wasn't going to live. You know, I dealt with something that's real, man, because I was in the streets and I used to go out of town and hustle and stuff. And I used to think I wasn't just going to, like, it wasn't going to be I wasn't going to see myself become successful. That's how I used to think, like, yo, whatever it is, it don't even matter because the way we moving is not going to last long. So I always had that in my back of my mind. So I was always depressed about it. Like, shit, man, like any given moment could be that moment. And I remember I was 27 and I was in Indiana hustling, man. And I just had a friend of mine broke down. He had a breakdown with me from, he was in a New Yorker with me out there and he broke down, man. And he was an older guy. So when I seen him break down, it kind of like, I had to be there for him. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of like, that moment right there matured me. It made me feel like there was purpose. Like, yo, man, like, because I'm telling him this, he broke down being depressed and he just couldn't take it no more. So, you know, as he's crying and he's bawling and a grown man, I'm trying to hold him up together and I'm talking to him and I'm feeling myself with the same word. I guess the Lord put him there for me to hear what I needed to hear myself say, as opposed to someone else telling it to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to help him. And as I'm saying all these things, I'm just hearing it like, yo, man, you know, give up. Like, stop trying to control everything, you know, because that's kind of what I was telling him. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Just, you're a grown man. Like, don't worry about all that's going on out there and everything you can't handle. Like, and as I'm saying that shit, to drive back from New York from Indiana to New York on the I-10, man, I stood up the whole ride by myself because he left me. He broke down. He jumped back on the bus, came to New York. He couldn't handle it.
Wow.
And I had to drive back by myself, man. And while I'm driving back, I stood up it's like a 10, 11 hour drive. I made it back in like 7.5, 8 hours because I was so in tune with myself. I'm stayed up. I'm talking to myself the whole trip, man. And I came back and on that trip, I said, I'm leaving my life in the Lord's hands. However he wants to do it in the best positive way, I'm going to put out the best energy and I'm going to stop being a bad, not a bad energy, but a shell, more or less. Somebody who's not on either side. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to pick a side. And I picked a side, man. And I kind of, my grandma was religious and stuff. They were Pentecostal. My grandmom's was heavy she raised me. She was heavy Pentecostal, but I ain't like the church and stuff. So, yeah, man, I just started after I made it back at 27 from Indianapolis, man. That was the last time I really dealt with anything out of town. And I just was like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna do music. I'm gonna do something positive, and I'm gonna try to let the Lord guide me. And I also broke down myself, and I asked whoever's up there, man, my ancestors, my people that's up there, like, yo, man, if I put positive imagery in my music and I spread the gospel, you have to help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to help me spread it, because I don't want to be one of these people that's out here. Like, I'm still going to talk that street shit. I'm going to want to be the best rapper, but I'm going to put the message of the light in my music. But you got to help me, though. And from there, man, things started taking off. You know what I'm saying? I put my hands in the universe's, my life in the universe's hands. I started reading more books like The Alchemist, like 1984, The Old Man in the Sea, Fahrenheit 451, things that were just guiding me towards. All those books are men struggling with themselves. From The Alchemist, you got 1984, he's struggling with the government, everything going on. The Old Man in the Sea, he's struggling with not being able to catch any fish amongst all the new fishermen, the young fishermen. He's an older fisherman, you know what I'm saying? And so as I'm reading all these books, they all guided me as a man, and I'm learning, like, man always has trouble. You know what I'm saying? Whether young, old, middle, you're always gonna find a new level. And every time we hit a new level, we start at the bottom of that level. You know
it's really, I heard Kevin Hart once say, like, life's like, he thinks of it as a video game. Like, once you get to the end of the level, you have to move on to the next one and you start zero. And it's true. And it's also,
right,
you're the only one holding yourself. Like, whenever I think of any problem I have, or like, I used to be a very angry person, you're just angry at the world, angry things that you went through, and you take it out and you realize you're just angry at yourself. Like, you see, like, in The Alchemist, once you just, or as you say, like, when you put your heart and your brain and yourself in God's hands, and not even in a religious way for people, just in a way of the universe is going to take care of you, then it does. And you start seeing those omens and the curses go away. Because, like, you can hold yourself back for your whole life. You see people who hold themselves back their whole lives.
You're absolutely right, man. And mind you, when we say God, I'm a firm believer in God, and I don't have no hesitation to say God or believe or mention God, but I understand some people might not have those same beliefs, and I want to show respect to those people, because although what I believe in is what I believe in, you still allowed to believe what you're allowed to believe in. So when we say not on a spirit, on a religious level, we mean it to those who are just have their beliefs, but might feel the same way and not know that they're parallel. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be religious to believe in something. And you don't have to believe in God to believe that the universe is real. You know, you're free to choose whichever one you want to believe, but they're all parallel. They're all in sync with each other, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. That's a great way of, I've never heard it that way put out, and it's true, because you can't explain it to some people, because you try to, in the beginning, when I first found, realized that I could ask the universe or look out to the universe for help, and then I tried to explain it to people, and they never understood it, because everyone's on their own journey, and people even listening now, like, this isn't the conversation I meant to get into in the beginning, but it's an important one, and it's, people are going to be like, what's going on? But it's true. If you just let the universe guide you, it'll help you.
When believers link up, this is the conversations they have. This is the energy. This is what the universe wants. People, you choose not to hear it. You could be ignorant. Now, being ignorant doesn't mean you're dumb or you're stupid or anything less of a person. You're actually, the root word in ignorant is ignore. You're just choosing to ignore. That doesn't make you, now, what does that make you? That's your choice. In this world, you choose to ignore, you're pretty much part of the 85%, that the sheep, the cattle, you know what I'm saying? We just awake over here. We feel, we conscious, we living in the moment, you know what I'm saying? I put my feet in dirt. I like to sit in the sun. I like to go in water, you know what I'm saying? I enjoy driving fast in the car and the air blowing in my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm present. I'm not of this planet and I don't belong here. Like, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So I have to acknowledge everything that's here too. The creator, my mom, my dad, everything that's manifested to put me here, you have to acknowledge it and respect it. So although people choose to not understand, they just choose to ignore, man. And one day they're going to be forced to understand. And it comes a situation where you have to pick a side eventually. You know what I'm saying? And some people get through it better than others.
You see people ruin themselves just so they don't have to make that decision. And absolutely. It's you try to help them, but then you realize that they're on their own path and you can't talk someone out of that, It's like the book of Eli. You got to keep your eyes straight. You're going to see a bunch of shit on this journey that you might see a woman being mugged, you might see a kid getting bullied. Everything ain't for you to stop. Sometimes you have to keep going, man, because that's gonna happen anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. With you there or not, your journey is your journey. You have to deliver what that package that was given to you. That's your job to get that shit to where it gotta go. No matter what. Nobody want to hear what happened on the journal. You can show up shirt tatted, hair all Lord. As long as you got that package there, you good. And that's part of the journey, man. Man, I gotta go watch that movie tonight. Again.
And not to mention, what's ill in that movie, man, is that he's blind through the whole movie.
Yeah, but so, he knows. He's following his path.
You got it by God. There's always one footsteps in the sand. And that's how I feel about my journey. It's like things don't always go. I could be, I close my eyes, man. I'm gonna still hit the target. If you could shoot a 3-pointer saying with your eyes closed and you still hit the rim, that's a pretty good shot, man. You know what I'm saying? Another person is gonna throw that shit over the out the park type shit. So
you know where you're going. Yeah. Did you always have this like rhythm? Did you always have this like calling for like something more? Like even before that drive from Indiana, did you have like you wanted to give the world something, like whether it be music or you even said you wrote poetry before music?
Yeah, we were. I was introduced through poetry in grade school. I was writing stanzas and learning how to write synopsis and all those soliloquies and everything, you know what I'm saying? Entendres, learning about all that stuff. I had a teacher who was she was amazing, you know what I'm saying? And she was an art teacher. I can't recall her name, but she's beautiful. God bless her. I'm a firm advocate for teachers, man. I think teachers should be paid just as much as an athlete. You know what I'm saying? I think policemen, teachers, I think a big part of the problem in America with police is that they pay so little. If you was to give them, if an officer wasn't getting paid 30,000, 40,000 a year, he was making 80,000 a year, I think he'd take his job a little more serious. You know, I think he'd be a little more hesitant to do something to lose that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So
he's mad at the world that he's not getting enough, so he's going to take it out on people.
If you see let's take the scenario of a white officer who's been working 15 years on the force, and his top pay right now is 70,000, 75,000. He's a detective in NYC. He's working in all the lower income communities, and he has to go police a 23-year-old kid who's driving a 650 BMW, selling pounds of marijuana, distributing drugs, whatever he's doing, blue collar crimes, whatever it is the young kid is doing, or they think he's doing, whatever. The kid could be doing something positive. But if you naturally just see the kid pulling up in a 645 or a Range Rover, or he's jumping out with a Mary jeans on and he got his big chain on, and you policing this person, you're not going to approach him politely. The respect is not there because you don't respect him. You don't think he deserves those things. You don't think this kid deserves to be hopping out in a 650 in front of the projects because he hasn't worked hard in your eyes, because you've been working, this cop has been working 15 years, how many shifts, you know what I'm saying, just to put his family in a home, and he don't get shit. So
but it's ignorance. He's mad at the kid instead of the system that's put him in this shitty situation.
You feel me? So when he deals with the kid, he's not going to get a kid respect. You know, he's not going to approach the person with respect, let alone grown men. I've seen police approach grown men with disrespect. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, seen police approach somebody like Fat Joe with disrespect, or just my uncle, just grown men with disrespect, me with disrespect. So maybe if these guys had better pay, maybe if a teacher had better pay, your students would be getting better. You know, I'm a firm advocate for I think we got it upside down. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of our problem is that we base monetary things as value, and the people who hold those values are not the people who are leading. They're the people who are just here to entertain. So we follow entertainers. Therefore, we have a world of entertainers. Our president was just an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Because we based on entertainment. It's hard for people to be bored nowadays. People don't even want to watch their kids no more. They on the Instagram, and your kid might be doing something, and then the parent is screaming at the kid, yo, stop. Really, the kid is just doing what a kid do. Is just you don't want to be bothered because you're on your phone, or you know what I'm saying? You zoned out. So back to the main question. Before, no, I don't think I had any. I knew it was fucked up. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? I always knew like this.
You can say whatever you want.
I always knew like it was messed up. Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. But I didn't know. I didn't always have this spark in me or the drive to be. I didn't grow up in a community with bright. You know, we wasn't no bright minds, man. We didn't grow up. A lot of my friends weren't into reading. No, they didn't care about none of that. My dad was like the neighborhood dad. You know, I was probably one of the few who had their dad, and my dad was tough. You know, my dad was a clean street dude. He was, you know, he was a street dude, but yet he was still like professional. You know, my dad always like folded his legs, answered the phone like good morning. You know what I'm saying? Like he always carried himself like a businessman in the even in the streets. So when he was doing music, he was professional. When he went to the streets, he was professional. In the house, he was always professional. Summertime, yo, come upstairs. You know, yo, I've been outside a little while. Yo, come upstairs. You got to read a book and do a book report. middle of the Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, go upstairs and go read a book. You come back outside once you're done. And my friends, I'll come back and they'll be laughing like, how was that book? You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, damn, man, I had to write a book report. Just on a Saturday, that's the kind of person my dad was, always keeping my sword sharp, testing me as a young man. Yo, you did 7 times 3, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and you don't realize the help that gives you later. In the moment, you're like, what is this?
Super frustrated. You're a kid. I see it with my daughter now. I try to make Penelope. I sit her down and she'll get into it as she gets into it. But if she's on her tablet, I'll be like, yo, Penny, you've been on your tablet enough, man. Let's get up and do some reading. She'll be like, you know what I'm saying? Or, before you could play, Pen, we got to do some drawing. We got to do it. And she'll be like, but in the long run, man, it made me a better writer, made me a better MC. I'm here with you today because of the music I make, which is because of the books I was reading and the books report I was writing, and the stuff I had to do. And my father giving me a list of words and having to look them up, write it, use them in a sentence, just keeping me sharp. And that's what kind of helped. So I always had discipline and I always had knowledge, but I didn't always have knowledge itself. So I grew up in an ignorant environment, and we didn't really have the 5%ers around us like that. It was just straight like drugs and street shit. My projects, straight project shit. That's why it kind of shocked me to see when I was growing up the change. You know what I'm saying? I thought everybody was like us. You know what I'm saying? I was ignorant. So as my dad started putting me in different schools, and I would meet Asian kids, I would meet, you know what I'm saying, the Goth kids. I went upstate for a year. I was hanging out with, I seen the difference between the football players and the scholars and the kids. So I was like, oh shit, this is different. So when I came back,
it's important. I got a scholarship to an international high school, and learning about different cultures at the early, it really does. It's important, and you don't realize it till later. You don't, none of that stuff. But if you even are following it at an early age, you realize that those are all omens. You just don't know. You don't have the words to put it yet, That's
amazing, Sam, because you don't know that all those things you collect, like you mentioned Kevin Hart in the video game, you really collecting those things for later stages that they're really going to help you, and you don't know it.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm gonna use myself. There's a reason I got put in French in 10th grade as opposed to Spanish. Later in my life, I'm start meeting. The little bit of French I know helped me make friends. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I remember that day getting my schedule and I'm like, French? Why y'all didn't put me in Spanish? I remember telling my guidance counselor, like, why I'm not in Spanish? And she's like, why you need to learn Spanish? You already know Spanish, go to French. And I was like, and the French class being like 4 kids, and the teacher was just some super cool French older dude, and I didn't understand him, Mr. Pasquale at the time. He was super cool, and the class was awesome, and I ended up learning French. And then down the line, I meet one of my best friends, Jay Hart, straight from France, producer, and I say some things to him in French, and he's like, oh, shit. Like, a little bit of French, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, can you teach me, help me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get my shit back up. Like, so.
And you guys put out a killer album together.
Yes, sir. That's my brother. So you don't know them tools are going to help you, man, and you're collecting them in your bag. And if you don't have those experiences, you never know. Yeah.
When you got back from that trip, how long before you start? Like, what was the first book you get me through, like, what was the first book you read? Did you start writing? The Alchemist. What made you find that book?
I was already reading books. So I had like Behold the Pale Horse.
Mm-hmm.
I went through my InfoWars phase where I was like heavy on the government shit.
Everyone, and then it just takes over. You can't. You just have to go away from it.
Too much. Yeah, it's too much. Like,
yeah.
I had a best friend. Me and him would just study for hours.
If you're listening, Josh, my friend Josh Antwi, you gotta stop. He's done.
Stop, y'all. It's too much, man. Sometimes you gotta just be like, yo, it's time. I remember me and my best friend, man, at the time. God bless him now and his family, being on a train and just arguing in front of everybody about Bill Clinton. Like we was on the train coming home from somewhere and just having a, yo man, Clan was one of the best presidents. How do you know, man? You was a kid. You don't know what he was doing. Do you know about Arkansas and all that shit? And we talking on train and people just looking at us like hood kids just having conversations. We went to Occupy Wall Street, man.
Oh shit. You were in it.
Yeah, man. We went to that shit. That was when the moment I was like, I'm off the government shit. Occupy Wall Street was like, I'm off the government shit. And I got into the free thinking shit. You know what I'm saying? Because government thinking is still group think. You still running with ideas presented to you by others and building on those. When we went to Occupy Wall Street, Dan, saying you taking me down an ill journey. When we went to Occupy Wall Street, peep this. I'd never been to World Trade. I'm from New York. 9/11 happened. I never went down there. I ain't want nothing to do with it, none. Occupy Wall Street, we went down there. It was my first time being down there. Now, we get down there, there's a gentleman, we walking around, I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. Occupy Wall Street going on. We walk with the marchers, we going through seeing people in the tents, been sleeping out there for days. It was, I'm gonna get back to the main topic, but I remember one moment walking with the marchers and telling my man, like, yo, look at the police. They don't give a fuck. Because we looking at like police laughing and taking pictures, and we not with the protesters, but we walking on the side of them with them. Like we not in there like it, but we on the side. My man had his cameras taking pictures. So we just experiencing, and I'm telling them like, yo, look at the police not giving a fuck. Cause they laughing at them and stuff. So I'm like, yo, see, this is why. I remember telling them like, this is why money matters. Like, it's the only thing that matters to these people is money. They don't care if you black, brown, you got money, you good. Bro, as we say that, we walk by our office. The protest walks by like, because it was walking by all through Wall Street. So it's walking by an office with like flooded glass ceilings. You can see in the office. I don't know what, I'm getting chills, bro. I don't know what the fuck was happening inside that office, bro, but they was popping champagne. Like they were celebrating in the office. Business dudes, like they had this, they was popping champagne. And the march is walking by. I'm looking in the shit like, it was like slow motion. I'm walking by and I'm watching them like it could be a movie, like Leonardo DiCaprio type shit, just popping a bottle like, pow. And they pouring it up and we walking by. I'm like, oh shit. And we kept walking by and I'm just, it sunk. Yeah, I told my friend like, yo, they making money right now. While they out here complaining, these dudes in there, I'm thinking that like, this is crazy. So that's when I got off the government shit. I was like, I'm gonna just learn. I got into free thinking. And that's when I started reading The Alchemist. And I would go into the library and I would just go into the class. I still do. Pre-COVID, you know, now I've been buying books offline, but I'm a proud library card owner. I go into the library and I go into the classic section or autobiography section, and I stand in there just reading the titles. That's how I came across every book, because nobody recommended these books to me. I would just stand in there like sneaker shopping. I'm a sneaker connoisseur. Like, you know, you got the vinyls behind you. Yeah. You know, now we have this underground phase. You know what vinyl you want, but if you're a real vinyl head, you just going into the record shop and you just looking. You know, the coolest covers are like the joints that make you buy. So I'm looking at they have energy almost. They like called you, you know? Yeah. So I'm looking at I'll be going in there, I'm staring and I'm like, oh, Ernest Hemingway, you know, familiar with him, like, oh, Malcolm Gladwell, I like him too, man. I seen his TED Talk. You know, I'm not picking them, I'm just looking at them like, oh. Malcolm Gladwell, I've read, he's one of my favorites too. He's one of my favorites, top 3. Yeah. He's awesome. Like, even the way he talks and presents everything is amazing. Shout out to him. I'm like, damn, man, let's start with this one. You know, I grabbed The Alchemist. It was the orange. You know, it said it. Alchemist being one of my favorite producers. You know, I'm like, I'm like, oh man, the Alchemist. I'm like, let me get this one. So I took it, read it, amazing. You know, I fell in love with it, put it back, went like, oh man, what else is in here? You know, this section got some heat. You know, right there, I'm like, oh man, this section got some heat. Start grabbing everything, man. Fahrenheit 451. You know, I read that. I'm like, oh, this is crazy, man. A time where books are no longer allowed. That's what Fahrenheit 451 is about for the viewers. It's about a fireman. His job in the future it's like a near distant future where firemen's job are no longer to put out fires, but to dispose of books. So they go around and just, if you have, they get a tip that you got books in your house, they go in your house and they burn the house down because you got books in it. So that was ill to me, you know, the story of that. And yeah,
That's how I don't want to I don't want to go, but with the Fahrenheit 451, that's kind of like technology now. Or even if you go back to like Martin Luther making it so people could read the Bible, it's like we don't know how to work that. Like we don't know how to read computers yet. We don't know. So whoever's controlling them, it's like you seeing those people popping champagne while everyone's protesting. That's what they're doing in the Facebook offices and the fucking Google offices. They're fucking partying because they are the only ones who can read the Bible. You know what I mean? There's no Martin Luther yet to make it fucking easy for everyone to figure out.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't have said it better. We don't got the source yet.
Yeah. So when were you?
I'm sorry,
you said The Alchemist was your favorite producer at that time. Were you writing throughout this time? Like, were you rapping and stuff?
Definitely writing and rapping, and that's how I was able to create like my early, like Camouflage and Bible. Those projects were like me coming into like, oh, I could put knowledge in the music, you know, because before we were rapping and I was just talking like, you know, I was talking shit, but it was no like I was talking about faith and shit, but there was no I had nothing to stand on. You know, it was just coming from the heart. Like, but as I start gaining the knowledge and I start reading this shit, then I start being able to say shit like the flow dead, like the sea south for the Edomites. You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to transcribe things, you know what I'm saying, in the rhymes that have people like, ooh, but I'm trying to hit that top tier listener, like the person who like really is listening, like listens to Nas and listens to Pun and listens to Jay, like for what you know what I'm saying? Like, oh nah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm able, as I start getting the knowledge, I'm able to dictate the verses as if parables, like I could put them in knowledge and rhyme form, you know what I'm saying? And
because you can listen to it or you can understand it, and but it's good because people who don't understand it would be mad if they did. You know what I'm a comedian, I'm a stand-up comedian, so when I think about that with comedy, like there's a lot of comedians who are teaching you something, but if you don't realize they're teaching you something, then you'll just laugh it off as a joke, kind of like rappers. Like when I listen to Ghost of Abizu, like fucking I'm learning shit, but if I wasn't, I'd just be like, this is a great album, you know?
Yep. It's crazy. Me and Ghost just had that talk yesterday because Ghost, we were discussing the Ghost Albizu, man, and like just talking about it. And I told him, I said, yo, that's just, we were able to provide knowledge with good music. That's like, you know how many people talk to me about, yo, I didn't know who Pedro Albizu Campos was, man. Like, yo, you made me go find out who he is. And I didn't, you know, they start breaking down to me who he is. Like, yo, man, Harvard grad, you know what I'm saying? Was a doctor. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, look into more of him, look into the people around him as well, you know, and they'll be like, yo, man.
Do you want to explain it? Do you want to explain who he was?
Well, Pedro Albizu Campos, for you know, just a quick breakdown, he was a Puerto Rican independent freedom nationalist. He was the leader of the party. He was a bright man, brilliant man before he even became that. He was already supposed to be praised before that even happened. That just put the icing on the cake. He was a valedictorian of his class at Harvard. Went through racism, wasn't able to speak. One of the professors pulled a swindle on him. He was supposed to be the lead speaker of the class of that year. It might have been like 1936 or something like that. They pulled something on him because he was, dark. He was a darker Indian colored brother. And he didn't get to speak. He got into freedom fighting and rights for people through the Irish Nationalist Party. He was a fighter for the independent Irish Nationalist Party. He helped them get a lot of rights to Irish people. And from there, a lot of corrupt things were going on in PR that led him to start getting into it and studying it and calling it out. And starting the Nationalist Movement Party, you know what I'm saying? And he was around with the Fred Hamptons and the Bobby Seals and the Huey Newtons. He was around. He was doing the same shit, you know what I'm saying? Thugging it out. Convicted of trying to assassinate President Truman. You know what I'm saying? Sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. He died in prison. You know what I'm saying? He did some time here in Brooklyn, Atlanta. Then they shipped him to PR to what federal prison in Puerto Rico that still stands, but it was a slave house originally, though. It's a house of slaves, and it's called La Princesa. So it's like a dungeon. It's not you know what I'm saying? When we say prison, we're not talking about like a facility. We're talking about like a dungeon. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And
with history, with bad history and energy there too. Like
that's not. And it wasn't just him, man. Anybody that was down with him or known to have from 19 pardon me, man. My mind is a little occupied right now. I think it's from 1940 to 1948. The Puerto Rican flag was illegal. Might have been from like 1938 or 1940 to 1948. The Puerto Rican flag was completely illegal, banned, not allowed to have. There's a Nobel Prize winner who was a Puerto Rican gentleman at that time, Nobel Peace Prize winner, Sam, that was sentenced to 25 years, convicted for having a Puerto Rican flag in his house. You know what I'm saying? Forgive me for forgetting your name, my ancestor. You know what I'm saying? There's even some dudes who are old men just coming home from that shit, bro. It's on YouTube. You could catch some, early, like 2011 kind of videos and stuff, 2010, of dudes that were just coming home from being a Puerto Rican nationalist, old men, talking about their time with Albizu. So, it was a bad situation, man. The government was different then. Same, but with a lot more firepower. I don't even want to say that. I'm gonna be honest, it's still probably even stronger now. But they were ill back then. They were doing some ill shit. You know what I'm saying?
You could hide it a little bit easier then.
There you go, Sam. Yeah, like it wasn't so. They was doing it like with lawlessness, like, you know what I'm saying. So they would. He was one of the illest dudes, man. A dope leader for his people. His speeches, if you watch him on YouTube when he speaks, you can hear the pain. He was he wasn't a young man. He was well into his 30s. Family, they try to kill his family. You know what I'm saying? So he was standing up with everything to lose. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing it like some young, and then get a kid and fall back and like, I don't want no problem. He was up there. He was letting it happen. He was going to war. His team was going to war. The first time the U.S. ever bombed the territory was on Puerto Rico. You know what I'm saying? It was ill. It was warring with the U.S. for real. And he was the leader of that so-called. They put the crown on him.
And you felt ready with that project to be able to speak how you felt. Like you were ready. Like you were saying, man, you said you had to get your house.
You collect all the tools, man. You collect all the tools you need. I wasn't ready when the title came up. I was. Because I had just came subconsciously, I think real time, I was like, damn, this is going to be crazy. But I had just came back from PR. So I went to PR with Static and Destroy and Tony Touch and Fat Joe, we all went out there. Crack had a show, Static was DJing, so I went with them. I spent my time on the island on some native. I didn't hang out. I was with the locals. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere I went, I wanted to, but that was my idea for the trip, you know, because my wife was like, yeah, sure. You know what I'm saying? I'll take your time, go ahead, do your thing. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. And this is one of my first trips with like Fat Joe. This is like one of my first times traveling with these guys, you know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited, but I know myself, I'm telling myself, I'm preparing myself that to take advantage of the trip, like have a great time. Don't get caught up in the fact that you were Joe, Static. Don't try to be in Static. Don't be on a body. Enjoy yourself. Have yourself a great time. And that's exactly what I did, bro. I was going to eat, was hanging out. You know, I was meeting the old heads, and it was telling me a lot about the island. A lot. Shout out to Destroy from the Arsonist. He put me on to the War Against All Puerto Ricans. He was on the flight. He was reading the book. And he knows how I am. And, you know, he just looked at me. He tapped the book. He was like, and I still have the picture on the iPhone I'm talking to you on. I have the picture because I took a picture of the book. Like, he was like, yo, this is the one. Like, you got to read this. And I was like, all right. So I took a picture of it. And, you know, I didn't pick it up at that moment, but I was like learning, man. And I learned from him on the trip because he was also on his own experience. And when we would meet up, I would ask him, you know, he was going to hang out, and he stood in a hotel by himself. So he was running. He was doing a lot of things that I was like, yo, so how was it? He was like, yo, he went to the championship basketball game. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was doing a bunch of dope things that I'm like, yo, how's the experience? He's like, yo, I'm loving it. You know, it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, making me want to enjoy myself in the island. And as we got back, I obtained so much information and knowledge that I was excited to learn about. And when me and Ghost, when I was presented the opportunity to create the album, I guess as writers and as, you know, as a comedian, your material is like, you might say it today, but it might be from last year. You know what I'm saying? You've really been working on it that whole time just to get this right moment, to get the joke off. You know what I'm saying? To get, so that's often how I learned that a little while ago too. Like, the music you write doesn't have to be right now. It takes a little bit of time for super dope experiences because there's trauma has a negative effect on your body, but there's also positive trauma that you could go through some stuff that you like, oh, you gotta let it settle in before you actually realize what just happened. The severity of, you know, yo, I was just in a room with Kevin Hart and Eddie Murphy, and I said a joke, and everybody laughed, and everybody's like, yo, what's your name, man? I'm Sam Buck. Oh, yeah. You're gonna go home on a whole nother high, like, oh, and this might take a few weeks for you to totally put your head around what just happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what happened when I was presented the opportunity to write the project. It was like, damn, man, I could finally let some of this out, you know what I'm saying, this stuff. And
well, you said you had to get stuff right. Like, you had to figure out how to like be at home and sit, like be personal, like figure out your personal life. Do you think that is what helped you then be more like get the music to where it is be like, all right, now my personal life settled and my going out life, my professional life?
Yeah, a lot of the I'm also excited to work with people too, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like when Ghost set the beats, I was hyped that I had.
How did you guys meet? Because Ghost is an amazing producer, and you had maybe his best project of the year, and that's, you know, he had some great projects.
That's a fact. Actually, he posted something on Instagram. I've always been like a fan, like, and you know, I've always been a supporter. As I am to many other guys, you know, I show love and hit the like button and stuff like that. And one day he posted something and I might have commented, or we might have commented on the same picture, like, you know, and somebody, shout out to Ghost, he's an artist as well. He's not a rhymer, but a painter. Is a dude on Instagram by the name of Art by Ghost. I've never met him, but he commented to both me and Ghost that he came up with the title. He said, yo, y'all should do a project called The Ghost of Albizu. So when I read the comment, you could DM the picture. I DM'd like the picture that the comment was under the ghost. And as I went to write, I see the thoughts bubble. He was like, yo, I'm already on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like, yo, you see that, right? He's like, yo, that's a crazy title. That's amazing. Like, I'll cook something up. I got you. So from there, we've never met in the physical, but that was like our first mutual connection. Like, it was always like him, I like a picture, but when I sent him the DM and I went to write, I was being cordial, like, hey man, what's going on? Like, trying to get it off fast. Like, hey man, what's going on? And he already was like, yo, I seen it. Don't worry, I'm on it. That's ill. So I was like, all right, bet. And then from there, I start doing a little more idea diving on the topic of who Albizu was, and listening to his speeches and stuff, just so I could have certain bullet points. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How long did that take you to write them all? Do you sit down and you're a story, like, do you sit down and write longhand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're like a story. I could tell when you said you did poetry, like I can tell that you're a writer, just from how you spit.
To write the Ghost project, see, the awesome thing was Ghost sent the body of work kind of like the songs weren't in the order, but all the beats were there. Like the song, like those 10 songs were the 10 beats he sang. He didn't send any more, any less. They were just right there. And I was like, oh shit. Read it. Must have took me about once I start listening and I went over each beat, and and like once I knew each emotion, I listened and I was like, oh, I see. And then I listened to another one and I was like, all right. And once I got all that stuff in order, it took me maybe like the process was like 2 weeks to write it and record it, because everything was pretty much like a skeleton of what I felt. You know what I'm saying? Of it could sound like I was like, oh, once I heard danger, I already knew, like, I gotta go on it like this. Then once I heard got a feeling, I was like, oh, I could talk about my kids. I'm always open to talk about being a dad. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk about the family. Once I heard spit, I heard the graffiti can in the beginning of it and the subway. I knew I was gonna say, oh, I'm gonna write my name. Like, it sounded like, so when I was like, oh, this is me getting off like an MC right here. This is Fev being MC Fev. And then so I was able to Trinidad versus Camacho. It was like, ooh, this is one of those. Dun, 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 dun. I was like, all right, so I gotta attack this, like. And
there's so many different styles, but they all work together. Like I had
told Ghost Sam that I didn't want to make. I was like, yo, please, when you send me joints, send me joints. Don't send me, I don't want to do that same sound through a whole project. Not saying he does that, but I didn't I didn't want him to think that's like. I was like, yo, send me joints that I could write to. Like, don't be afraid to send me no up tempo, or like, let's do everything you haven't sent to nobody. Send them to me. Like, so he was like, he said, I'm ready. I'm a fan of yours, Fev. Like, because he doesn't contact with you. It's just straight text. So at first it's kind of hard to convey the emotion or understanding of who we are. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yo, trust me when I tell you, like, I rock with your music, man. I got you. Like, I know what I want you to do. I got you. So I was like, all right, cool, man. And I waited like a few months, and he sent the batch. And yo, man, it was like October of 2019. And I wrote that joint in like maybe like November. I got the stems, the original stems. It was like, we might have did it like the 19th. And then like the next session was the 26th. And it was done.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I recorded.
That's crazy, because that sound like it was meant, that was meant to come together how it was, because it came together so fast. Like, if you spent more time on it, it wouldn't have been, it was meant to come out that way.
He had it for the rest of the time, Sam, and he hadn't touched it. From the way I've come to realize he works is he puts everything in sequential order. So he knew he had projects before mine. You know what I'm saying? So when I turned it in so fast, he was like, yo, Fev, I still got to drop this Conway. So give me some time. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, because I thought I would turn it in and then it would be like, yo, we going. Like, so he's like, yo, Fev, I got so much stuff going on. You know, my next year is already lined up. You know, let me get to it. So I turned it in, like I said, November 2019. He worked on it in August of 2020 because I kept checking in. Yo, what's up? You know, I dropped Fresh Air. Then I dropped the joint with Term. I had dropped
great
Fentanyl
albums.
Flow.
Those are great albums.
Thank you, bro. I had dropped Fentanyl Flow in between there. He had hit me like, yo, we should get Joe. You know, like, so I was like, you know, August came and he was like, yo, I'm gonna take this whole month to work on the project. I got you. Like, it's your month, your time is coming down. So I'm like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's about to be lit. And then I had just dropped those 2 projects. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be dope. I'm gonna close the year with a ghost joint. And he worked on it the entire August. I got it back in September, brother, and it was what we hear today. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what was it like waiting for the project?
I recorded, I think I recorded El Maya. We added El Maya.
Zoe was, and Zoe was on the
one of the first songs. Zoe was one of the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Zoe
that's a great. I was gonna ask you about that. That's a great
Zoe
song.
Was in that batch, man. Zoe was in the original form of records, and I had wrote it and I sent it to him. I sent it out. But Zoe was a song that I asked for him to like, yo, you. When I was listening to it, I hadn't heard what he hadn't listened to it. I was studying it. Like I told you, I study my stuff. So I'm like, yo, Zoe didn't fit in what I had. You know, the way I'm listening to it, I'm like, yo, you mind if we take Zoe off? You know what I'm saying? And he's like, for real, this, that, and the third. So I'm like, yeah, because in the sequence I'm trying to put together, I can't find a good place for it. Now, mind you, I added the skit, I added the 2 Albizu skits. So when you hear them on the intro and then when you hear the El Maestro, when they talking about him on the news, I added those. I found those. I was like, yo, I got 2 joints I'm gonna put on it. So those were there. Those are the only skits on it. So I hadn't heard, I was just hearing straight music. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to find a place just for music. And I'm like, yo, Zoe doesn't work, man. Unfortunately, he's like, damn, that's one of my joints. And I'm like, yeah, just hold on to it. You know what I'm saying? Just we'll figure it out. And I totally forgot about it because I just kept studying what I had. I took it off the playlist and I just forgot I had did it. And he had sent me 2 more beats that I didn't use that I just had, but I had forgot I had those too. So he was like, because we were trying to get Joe on a record to get vocals. But when the pandemic came, Joe was, you know, I was on road with him and I was getting him, I was playing him the project. He was blown away by it.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened. So we was in Utah. We went to Canada and I played him the album. I played him The Ghost of Albizu music form. Just no skits, just music on the way back from Canada. He was crazy. He was like, yo, the skits I had, the Albizu doing the speech in the beginning, that shit was blowing him away. He was like, yo, you going deep on this one. And then the music, you know, he was like, oh, this is crazy. Like you taking there was even a point where we pulled over, we went to the bathroom and stuff, we ordering food and like the rest stop, and he's ordering food and he's like, Albizu, damn, Fev, like, you know, that it stuck with him. Like, so I'm reading, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be hard. So I was on, I had told Ghost, we gonna get him, like, yo, we gonna get him on the joint, he already feeling it. And then the pandemic came and I couldn't get him in the studio. He was not leaving the house for nothing. And I'm blessed to have Joe, access to Joe. You know what I'm saying? I'm super grateful and humble. I don't ask him for anything. So being that I had told Ghost, I felt like obligated. Like, dang, I got it. And then I had dropped Fentanyl Flow and Ghost hit me with like the emoji, like,
and you're like, wait, no.
So I'm like,
that's the worst emoji to get. You don't want to get that emoji.
He had the face like,
Yeah.
I had to explain, like, yo, that record was, I had that in the tuck already, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm working on getting Joe, trust me, he's like, I could kind of sense through the text where he didn't give up, but he felt confident in what he had, that he was like, yo, even if we get him or not, it's gonna be like, what I'm gonna do to it is gonna be dope. So I'm like, nah, we gonna get, like, I never let him give out. I was like, nah, I'm gonna get him. Like, you bugging out, bro. You trying to tell me I can't get Fat Joe? Like, you must not know, like, that kind of thing. So he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. You can't get him. It's no big
That
deal.
emoji got you. Yeah.
Yeah, that emoji. I'm like, oh man. So long story long, man. I end up one day being on the phone with Crack. I'm in my workspace putting merch together, and we just talking, and he's livid about what's going on in politics and stuff, and he's going off on it. He's talking this stuff, and I'm like, yo, you see that energy you got right there, Joe? If you gave me that, yo, all I need is an intro, Chan. I don't even need a verse no more. Like, just give me a skit, please, Crack. He's like, that's all you need? I'm like, yo, you can hang up on me right now. Just send it, please, Crack. I need that. You talking that shit, like that shit you talking right now, do that for that Diesel. And he's like, all right, hang up. And he hung up. And I put some merch together. I went to the supermarket. When I got walking back to the supermarket, my phone went off. I have two phones. I have an iPhone. I have a phone that's just like, I don't do media on it. It's just for family and stuff. I was waiting for it to come through on that phone, and now I didn't receive it. So I'm running errands, and I'm like, when I get back in the house, my iPhone was in the house under the Wi-Fi charging, and I check, and it's the voice note, and it's Joe, and I'm like, oh, like,
I told you.
I sent it to Ghost. That's exactly what I did. But I sent it to Ghost immediately. Like, I emailed it in the text, and I put a lot of diamond emojis, and I was like, I told you I got him. Like, and it's crazy because he was talking his shit, and Ghost hit me back in the DM, like, separately from the email. He's like, yo, this is perfect. Like, whatever we just had, this took it up to 10. Like, and I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. I told you I was gonna get him. I was like, yo, I told you. And he's like, nah, he did his thing. Like, he was writing in the comments, like, yo, it was awesome. And then I had a session, maybe like a few nights after that. I was playing the album for 1,000 words. And, I had asked 1,000. I was like, yo, 1,000, you want to go in there and talk? He's like, for real? He's like, yo, you got to come in with me because I don't usually, you know what I'm saying? So we went in the booth. We just, smoking. And you can hear the camera. You can hear New Vegas taking pictures in the back on the skit. If you listen, you can hear like the shutter. And he just talked, and that's what it came out to, man. And that from there, just everything, give thanks to Big Ghost and everybody that was a part of it. We were able to present a project to the people that, people enjoy, man. And that's all we can ask for.
A great fucking project. Yeah. You always give love. That's fun. Like 1,000 shout out, 1,000 words. Shout out Kip. He was actually on the last episode of this podcast. He lives 10 minutes from.
Kip is a good dude. Shout out to Kip. Man. Yeah. Shout out to the whole Worcester. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I'm live 10 minutes outside of Worcester, or 20 minutes.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
But you show a lot of love to the mass people. You have, Static. You got Term. You 1,000 words.
They the first other city. I performed in Worcester with Nems one time, and I performed in Cambridge and Mass with Static and the Locks. Man, they had me on the bill, so I got mad love when I went out there. I hung out in the crowd after I got off the stage, because I'm not, Mr. Popular or nothing. So when I got off the stage, the Locks was performing. So I told Nems, like, yo, I gotta watch the Locks from I don't want to be on stage with them. Yeah, like, it was my first time actually seeing them. So I went into the crowd, and as I'm in the crowd, man, everybody's showing me crazy love. Like, when you perform, it's an out-of-body experience. As you get on stage, you take off, especially if you have a good night, you just take off, you're having fun.
You get off stage and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah.
You're back in your body, God snaps you back, and people like, great fucking job, man. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Great job, what'd I do? Like,
it is a different high than anything else. You know what I mean? Nothing compares to,
brother. I've never experienced the adrenaline of having a good time or just being on stage, good or bad. If you have a fuck up night, you get off stage, and the focus you have is unmatched. Like, yo, bro, I'm not never letting that happen again. You know,
You
what
have
I'm
your
saying?
best sets after your worst ones, you
What?
know?
What? The next stage, you're gonna be on fire. And even the best ones, man, when you killed it and you come off that shit, the adrenaline has you like, holy shit, you actually snap into it. You looking around, you seeing people, you know, partying, having a good time with you more now because they like, oh man, you just killed it. You know what I'm saying? And they now
Yeah.
you off the stage and you just having a good time and everybody's like, so it's like, yeah, man, it's nothing like it. So I got off the stage and I watched the locks, man, and that's exactly what it was, brother. I'll never forget it, man. Everybody was like, I had my brother-in-law and two other friends of mine. We had drove up and we were just hanging out in the crowd and we were smoking, you know, because it's a legal state. And we were smoking in the crowd and everybody's like, yo, man, yo, you killed it. And they hung out with me and we hung out with them and we watching. They end up being a fire alarm went off. We all had to go outside. The whole venue had to go outside. Everybody's passing weed around, talk statics outside. We all outside standing around and the people are congregating with us, giving me weed, like, yo, man, you didn't know weed is legal? And we all laughing. And it's like, so I had a great time, man. Every time I go to Mass, it's always love. And even before that, I used to go to Lace with Buddha and Grand. Shout out to Buddha and Grands. They used to perform like they used to do like judging the beat battles and stuff and Mass and stuff. And I used to ride out there with them and get love, you know, go visit the spots and just hang out. And it was always dope, man.
Yeah. What do you have coming? What's your next step? I mean, you had a fucking killer 2020. Are you taking a break? What do you got?
Nah, man, we're gonna drop more music. You know, I was just letting Albizu get all the praise it deserves and let people get familiar.
Yeah, that's like that's an album that every time you listen, you learn something new, you hear something different. Like,
thank you, man.
That's peace. You really like that came from your higher power. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, nah, it is. I say the same thing. All praise due. I was Albizu himself carrying it. And I think when you do something positive for the universe, like you said earlier, you alluded to, when you ask of the universe and it's of value to the universe, then it's gonna do what it do with it. And we still pushing out these. Who knows where it's gonna go? It's only been 2-3 months. You know what I'm saying? So as it grows older with time, it'll get better and better and reach more people. But coming to look forward to in 2021, I have a project with Eric Vanderslice titled The Enigma of Dolly. You know, that's
great
coming
producer.
out.
He's a fucking killer. Yeah.
Great producer. So I got 2 joints with Vanderslice. The first joint is Dolly, Enigma of Dolly. That's coming out through Cold Mine and Fat Beats. We're looking forward, you know, all praise due. We could get that drop within the next few weeks. The announcements and all that should be coming. After that, I got another project, but you know, I like to walk in faith and keep everything aligned. So I won't put everything out there too much, but just look forward to the Enigma of Dolly by Vanderslice. You know, you got Ghost of Albizu out. You got From El Barrio with Love is out. Fresh Air is out. I just put another project on my Bandcamp that I took off the streaming services called Around My Way. It's one of my earlier projects. I'm sorry, Sam, you got me?
No problem. You're still here, yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna probably put it on social media platforms soon, but I put it up for the Bandcamp folks to kind of get a understanding of where I used to be as an artist and where I've grown, and, you know, the familiarities of me, if you know, the consistency. So I threw that up there, and just more music, a lot more music. I just wrote another project in the last week that I won't announce, but I'm looking forward to that one too, man. The producer's amazing guy. He's from Mass as well. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Shout out to him. And yeah, man, more music. So I'm gonna keep going, and hopefully the world not be how it used to be. We'll move forward, but yet everyone will be able to once again enjoy live shows and shit. So we can hit the road and come see people and give them this good music that we're putting out.
Man, I gotta see you live when you come to Mass. And you know, I appreciate it was awesome talking to you, like seeing your drive. Like I knew from it and the music, but like to see like your passion, your drive, it's really awesome. And I can't wait to hear what else you have coming. And like, I listen to your shit every day. You're like, I love your shit. So,
thank you. I can see you got a good taste in music by the records you got behind you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to be one of those selected in your collection, man, for real.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on. I really do. And do you want to plug your social media and stuff?
Yeah, man. Follow me at UFO FEV. That's everywhere. UFO FEV. Add me on Spotify. Subscribe to my YouTube. That /UFO Fev. Bandcamp. UFOFev.bandcamp.com. Thank you to you, Sam, for having me. Your producer, your wonderful producer, for being patient and understanding. While I was getting the family ready, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, thank you for having me. I said we was gonna do it, and here we are, brother.
Man, I really appreciate you. Thank you for everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.